Hey guys, what's up? MMA Savant here, back in your life. I got my wonderful wife and beautiful co-host here, Carmen. Say hi, Carmen.
Hi, everyone.
So today we're gonna, break down the one of the three super eventful, super fantastic, bombastic, dynamic fights that happened over this last weekend. UFC's tentpole event was a home run in every sense of the word. Titles changed hands, things happen, some controversies, couple fouls, but we're going to get right into it. This is Edgar versus Mendes. This is the Ultimate Fighter 22 finale. Let's kick it off.
All right, so starting the main card, we have Erosa versus Rosic.
Yeah, the Polish Zombie. This fight here, the only thing that people are talking about is Juicy J's shorts. He got mixed up here. He thought he was going to a who can do a best Steve Urkel meet your grandma impression contest. He didn't realize he was going to be fighting in a cage tonight in front of millions of people. Anyway.
Yeah, I do agree. He needs some new shorts. This fight was pretty uneventful. Nothing happened. Erosa won by a split decision.
Well, something did happen. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So Juicy J was in a guillotine choke from the Polish from the pole, and the guy wasn't even squeezing or trying to finish. He was just holding there, and it was early in the first round. They hadn't broken a sweat yet. I don't know why he didn't go for some kind of a submission there. Other than that, this fight here, not much to talk about.
Okay, moving on. Next on the main card, we had Kawajiri versus Knight. This was Jason Knight's UFC debut, and I think he did very well against Kawajiri. Although Kawajiri did win by decision, Knight stayed very busy on the bottom, throwing up submission attempts whenever he was able to.
So Jason the Kid Knight, he came in on short notice, replacing Mirsad Bektik, and he is a Alan Belcher student. Alan Belcher, if you remember, has a fantastic ground game. He had Husimar Palhares in a lot of trouble. He almost submitted him a few times. And it showed in this kid's grappling and everything. He was throwing up submissions like my co-host said here, and in no way was he in any danger at all of getting submitted by the 40-fight veteran Tatsuya the Crusher Kawajiri.
Yeah.
So congratulations to the kid, Jason Knight.
And while he didn't win, I feel like we can expect some great things from him in the future. I think he has a lot of potential.
So all the people out there in the 145-pound division, you got another contender out there somewhere.
Okay. And our next fight on the main card, we have Dunham versus Lozon. And Dunham wins this fight by a decision.
It was a decision, but it doesn't give credence, or it doesn't give enough credit, if you will, to the hard-fought battle won by Evan Dunham. Now, those of you who know Evan Dunham know he's been around for a long time. He does have knockouts. He does got a lot of submissions, and he's been submitted himself a few times. But he's got a black belt under Megaton Diaz, who's Mackenzie Dern. He's Mackenzie Dern's dad, so there's a long, long history there of qualified, capable grapplers and jiu-jitsu players. He's also a long-time student of Extreme Couture, or was for a long time, and under the tutelage of those gentlemen. And he's also been working with Robert Drysdale for who knows how long. But we didn't get a chance to showcase his black belt. He basically did it with straight, accurate, even punches and good cardio. And he made Joe Lozon stutter step, and he was always in a double time rhythm. He could never really relax and get his feet underneath him and get anything off.
Yeah, I don't think that Joe Lozon lived up to his expectations or performed very well for himself. And it kind of begs the question, do you think it's time for Lozon to take some time off?
Yeah, you know what? I kind of do, because After the UFC Boston card, which was supposed to be is in Joe Lozon's hometown, it was I believe it was against Michael Johnson. He just kind of fell flat and everything, and he hasn't looked the same. He does have one win that I remember over Michael Chiesa, and but he's not the same bonus machine that we all know and love. So I'm gonna implore Joe Lozon the same thing I brought up when I talked about the Jim Miller fight, as you remember in our last video. My man, you gotta take some time away from the sport. You've got 20-something fights in the UFC, back to back to back to back to back, no real breaks to speak of. I think you're getting burnout. You haven't lost any talent. I believe you've lost the love of the sport. So I would ask that you take some time away. You know, 1 year seems like a long time, and in any other occupation it might be, but it's basically 2, maybe 3 fights, or 15 if you're Donald Cerrone. All right.
Okay, and next on the card, we have Ferguson versus Barboza. This was a fantastic fight. Ferguson won by a Darce choke in round 2, but there was a lot of good back and forth.
Oh, yeah, this was a... So basically what you have here is a well-rounded mixed martial artist facing Edson Barboza, who's primarily a Muay Thai specialist. He's out of Frankie Edgar's camp. He's been there for a long time. They've got killers out there. They've got Ricardo Almeida for your jiu-jitsu, along with Renzo Gracie and John Danaher. You've got Mark Henry for your striking. A lot of good guys, and on all the wrestling and everything that comes with it. But he's primarily a striker. And you have this guy who is streaking, I believe this is 7 or 8 for El Kukui, the boogeyman. And before we get into it too much, I do want to take home, I do want to drive home this one point. For those of you who don't know what he was trying to do with that, with those funny, weird-looking takedown attempts he was doing, what he was doing was called the Imanari roll. And Imanari is a Japanese leg lock master. Ashikan Judan, the 10th dan of leg lock submissions, what it translates from Japanese. And he's one of Aoki's, contemporaries. Anyway, so Masakazu Imanari is one of the greatest leg lock specialist ever. And what he would do is he would do that weird roll, and it looks like a flying leg scissor into a heel hook attempt, but he's put a few tweaks on it, a few adjustments on it, and it catches guys because they don't know how to defend that. And at 5'5", Imanari can do that. Tony Ferguson looks like to be about 6-something. It won't be quite as slick as that, but it was awesome to see. And it was a fantastic change-up of styles and takedowns.
Well, I'm sure Ryan Hall saw that fight and was like, dude, you stole my move.
Yeah. Ryan Hall was bad, man.
Well, Ferguson did fantastic in this fight, and because of it, he took home 2 performance bonuses. You know, he went home with a lot of money that night, and it was well-deserved.
Well-deserved, and... one gentleman was 6, one was 5, or maybe one was 7. I don't really remember right now. But he's got the win. It was on short notice, was the Edson Barboza replacement. But the guy he was going to fight is a guy that nobody wants to fight, the Russian Habib Nurmagomedov, the Eagle, out of AKA, the Super Wrestler. So for even taking that fight, kudos to you, El Kukui. Maybe you and the Boogeyman and the Eagle will match up in the cage soon enough. He also welcomed Conor McGregor to the 55-pound division. All right.
Okay, and next on our main card, we have Ryan Hall versus Lobov, and Ryan Hall wins by decision.
Okay. Now, this story is kind of funny because both these guys were on the show. To get into the house in the preliminaries, Artem actually loses but he's Connor's boy. He's Connor's buddy. So Connor asked Uncle Dana. Uncle Dana obliged. He brought him back. He ends up winning the show, beating everybody else by knockouts. He takes his opportunity and he runs with it, and he starts dropping the Russian hammer on people's heads and getting the knockouts.
And he makes it into the finals, which is actually another funny story because Ryan Hall got knocked out of the tournament, and someone else was supposed to be in the final against Artem.
Yeah, so the European Saul Rogers apparently had some kind of issue with his visa, and through some weird turn of events, he wasn't able to compete in Las Vegas. So Ryan Hall is currently in Ireland at SBG with John Kavanagh, Artem Lobov, Gunnar Nelson, of course, Conor McGregor, when he gets the call. He's been training with him for about a month. Anyway, he accepts like any great prize fighter would. He goes home to, I think he's from Virginia, and he works on his stuff. Anyway, so the two start fighting, or they meet up in the finale. They get it, and Ryan Hall does this back take that I try to analyze and figure out how he does it. But basically, he gets perpendicular. He gets his head, catty corner from Artem's head. He's got the over-under, and he steps his leg through, and which forces Artem's body to turn. And by the time he comes crashing to the ground, before his legs hit, Ryan Hall already has the hooks in. Now, Artem knew it's time to tuck that chin, 2-on-1 on the grips, shoulders up, and fight the choke. And kudos to Artem Lobov, who isn't technically a grappler, for not getting submitted by the 50-50 triangle master that is Ryan Hall. An awesome addition. Both these gentlemen are going to be fun to see in their division.
Right. So there was a lot of ground game from Ryan Hall to Artem, and like you said, he didn't get submitted by Ryan Hall, which is a huge win for him, even though he didn't win the fight. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the fight, you can see Ryan Hall was on the back of Artem, and they were both standing for like the last few minutes of the fight, just kind of like up against the fence, and you could see he wasn't really sure what to do. Should he drop off and continue the fight? Should he stay there and keep trying to go for a submission? So he just kind of like got stuck there and
had to wait it out.
Yeah.
And as you can see in the third fight, in the third picture here, rather, Ryan Hall has the figure for the leg lock attempt to hold the leg in place. Maybe experience, maybe poise, maybe composure, maybe just sweat. Artem Lobov, the Russian hammer, was able to get out of that and avoid the heel hook or any leg lock or any submission that was thrown his way. Congrats to both gentlemen. Let's see how they do in the UFC in the years to come.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, we have our main event, which is Frankie Edgar versus Chad Mendes, and Edgar wins by round 1 knockout.
Yeah, I'll say that to you again. Frankie Edgar was the one who knocked out Chad Mendes.
Completely unexpected for me. I did not expect Frankie Edgar to knock out Chad Mendes. I expected him to come in and wear him down and finish the fight by a decision, but a round 1 knockout was very impressive.
Yeah, so in his last 5, Frankie Edgar's got 3 knockouts, and 3 finishes rather, and maybe he's a new kind of fighter. Maybe things are just going his way. But to knock out Chad Mendes while Chad Mendes is still fresh after a long, real training camp, you cannot deny this man. There's no excuses. Chad Mendes just got bested that night. And
I think it cemented Frankie Edgar as a top contender, There were still some questions around, is he going to be able to fight for the title and all that kind of stuff. I think that this definitely puts him in line for a title shot, depending on, whether Aldo.
I cannot argue with that at all. we'll see how it goes with the Aldo McGregor rematch. Take some time away. That whole situation there. But if for whatever reason Aldo doesn't want the fight and he's tired of thinking about Conor McGregor, he's been doing it for, almost a year now or whatever, I don't see any other reason not to give it to Frankie Edgar. He's streaking right now with finishes. BJ Penn, Cub Swanson, Charles Oliveira, Uriah Faber. He's done it all. Why not give him another title shot? He's more than earned it. And Conor McGregor has said, "Come on in, brother. The water is fine." All right, guys. That has been our recap and our rundown of the UFC TUF 22 finale, headlined by Frankie the Answer Edgar taking on Chad Money Mendes. Lots of fun fights, lots of cool finishes, chokes, knockouts, even exciting decisions. For Carmen, this is the MMA Savant, and we're out.